call the Tipton Community School Corporation May board meeting to order, and I've asked Mr. Emsweller to lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Board members are here physically. Have a couple calling in remotely, so I'm going to ask them to signify that they are there. So Keegan Schmicker, are you there? Keegan, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, can now. And next, Chris McNew is not here. Chris, are you there?
I am here.
All right, very good. So the rest of the board members are here, which is April Overdorf, Gary Johnson, Randy Satong, Jim Ankerman, myself, Gary Plummer. So first thing on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda items, and any board member can ask for anything to be removed and voted on separately, but we can approve the consent agenda items. I will read the personnel report after we vote, so I need a motion to accept the consent agenda item. I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Keegan, you say aye as well?
Aye.
Keegan? Okay, Chris McNew, how about you?
Aye.
All right, thank you. The personnel report for the April board meeting was the recommendation of Barb Cardwell for the temporary business teacher at Tipton High School, transfer of Cliff Hawkins, business teacher to THS Social Studies and Physical Education teacher, classified staff termination of Ashley Cunningham, and resignation of April Gillum. Those were in the April personnel report, and here's the May personnel report. Resignation of certified staff Greer Bernard as a math teacher at Tipton Middle School. Classified staff recommendation David Addison, second shift custodian at the middle school. Michael Newton, third shift custodian at the high school. And resignation of ECA staff Brian Della Rosa was assistant track coach at the high school. All right, and next up is the superintendent's report.
Okay, first of all, you've got the department reports. You have those from Facilities and Transportation from Mr. Wessel, Student Services from Mr. Clark, Food Services from Adam Prohl, and Technology Services from Stephen Gingerich. Any questions on those reports? Even though school's not been in sessions, all these people have been very busy in different functions, either routine functions or new functions as a result of us not being in school. So.
I do see that greenhouse is going to be more of an extensive project.
Right, yeah, more than what we thought.
I really did.
Okay, and we're still waiting on some official quotes and bids. The amount I gave you is just a kind of casual conversations with Performance Services. So I know Mr. Wessel's talked to a couple of other contractors, and we got some waiting for some quotes that we should have next week. And hopefully I'll have more information, hopefully Monday with the Facilities and Technology meeting. So, yeah, I think our 15,000 was a little shy. So, and that's something we're going to have to take a look at. So, any other questions on the reports? Okay. Next, we have the financial report. As you look over this month's financial report, you see that April resulted in a negative cash balance for the first time in a long time. The projection shows that with all things staying the same, that we will end the year with a negative balance of $1.1 million. All right, now this is not unexpected. I mean, it doesn't look good, but it's not unexpected. We knew that we were going to have to use rainy day funds to kind of help compensate that. It's still something we're going to have to deal with. We've chosen not to reduce staff the last couple of years, so that's going to create some more challenges ahead. But on the agenda later on, I'm going to recommend that we transfer $500,000 from the $800,000 we've appropriated from the rainy day fund to be transferred into the education fund to bring that into a positive balance at least through July. And then the second half of the year, we're going to have to continue to monitor that, and more money may need to be appropriated out of rainy days, so we end the year with a positive cash balance. Other cash balances, we have the $1.1 million debt service and $1.4 million operation fund. We're going to have to watch the operation fund. As you know, as a result of COVID-19, taxpayers have kind of been given extra time to make their property taxes payment, and so that's going to possibly delay payment to us in that June draw from the county. So right now, we think we've got enough cash balances. We can meet our expenses as long as our payment from the county is not delayed too long. But again, that's something we're going to have to continue to watch. We're aware of it. We're just going to have to think we can make it do, but we'll wait and see. So, any questions on the finances? Okay, other reports, to kind of give you an update where we stand with the pandemic. Monday was our last e-learning day for our students. I'm sure many parents are out there very much relieved that that's over for them. So we understand it's been a challenge for them as much as it's been for our teachers. Teachers have been coming in this room to close out the rooms. We're limiting the number of people coming in, wearing masks, having temperatures taken as we do anybody coming into our buildings. Next week, we're going to have students come in and get their items. We've staggered it by last names, so A through G, whatever, will come in on Monday, H through P on Tuesday, and the rest of them will come in on Wednesday. And then we'll pick up any stragglers the rest of the week. So that we know have a lot of teachers and students anxious to get their things. We left here kind of not expecting to be gone as long as we have been. We'll get that taken care of. And we've sent out information. Of course, those most greatly impacted are our seniors with graduation and all the senior activities take place that they are missing out on. You guys asked me back in December when I announced my retirement if I'm going to retire right away or wait till June. I said, no, I want to finish up the year because I want to enjoy the activities. Well, so much for that. So maybe I jinxed it, I don't know. But anyway, unfortunately, made the decision to cancel prom.
I was going to ask why, was there, I mean, I've seen where other schools have made other arrangements to host it in July. Was there?
We just think so many of the kids are going to be gone doing other things that they wouldn't want to come back. And, a lot depends on with the venue, what they're doing. I think we're down in Noblesville. We're going to be down in Noblesville. We had made arrangements to go down there in June, but as the stay-at-home order has been extended, that was not a possibility. So, so graduation, we have established a date for July 25th. It's a Saturday at 10 a.m. Hopefully, with the things as they are right now. We are limiting each graduate to 2 tickets, and that's some pushback from parents. They think they'd like to have more and look at option 2. Maybe it's people come to the auditorium or whatever. But our focus is on the students and the seniors and make it somewhat of an exercise for them and their parents. And then the families can get together and do their celebrations at home or wherever they can get into. So that's the plans at this time. Schools are closed through June 30th by executive order. This includes all direct instruction, including athletics. So our coaches and athletes are really wanting to get in, but we understand they're saying, and we have to say no. We've had some community groups or groups of people come in, want to use our property and come in and do exercises. We've asked at least one group to leave because during the school day and explain, our athletes want to come in, they see this group of adults out there saying, well, why can't we? So if they do it after hours, that's their business. But we have a number of people walking, riding bikes and things, but they keep moving and they're making a circuit, their families, couples, or whatever. We're okay with that. But having a group come in and set up an exercise program on a parking lot, we just kind of had to say no to that. So we are planning to continue with our summer classes, which would be band and supervised ag. Both instructors have made arrangements for June to do it virtually. Okay, they both submitted proposals on how they're going to do that. Supervised ag, kind of a independent study anyway, so that's a little easier for them to do. But Mr. Skeeb has kind of worked out some activities for the students to do during June as far as getting geared up for marching, and hopefully things will be a little easier in July. No guarantees that they can come back and start working together as a group, so we'll just have to wait and see. We are continuing our meal delivery services to our students through May 22nd, and I don't know how many times I've commended these people, but I will continue. We've got a core group of people who have been coming in every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Instructional assistants, our cooks, bus drivers. They've got this down to a science. I mean, they're just click, click, click. They're going and they're getting those meals out there, making contact with the kids, and keeping that connection with some of those kids. And also, unfortunately, a couple times they brought attention to some kids that may need some help. So we're going to continue that through May 22nd. So again, I can't say enough about that group of people. And then really, on my end, I'd like to really give my commendation to everybody. Our students who work hard under these circumstances, our teachers and staff, gone above and beyond as far as trying to meet the needs of our students, and our parents who all in all been positive, supportive, understanding, frustrated, tired, like all of us, but everybody has really pitched in, and as the thing goes, we've been in this together, and we're making it work. So I really appreciate the efforts of everybody during the last couple months here. Other things in that were your considerations. I kind of shared with you in the memo last week. We've been looking at roof replacement. These would be sections over the high school media center, auxiliary gym, and a small section at the middle school gym over the girls' locker room. These are items up for replacement. Now would be a good time to do it. We do have sufficient funds in the bond project that we need to get spent down. I think I indicated the cost was like $630,000, and I hate spending money on the roofs, but I mean it's a necessary evil. And we still have like $585,000 left in the bond project that we need to spend down. We're long overdue in that. So Performance Services is kind of looking for some guidance on whether to proceed or not. As I've indicated, it's been an unusual year for contractors with schools shutting down throughout the state. The contractors have moved their schedules up, kind of put them in a tizzy as far as rescheduling things. And so the roofers are saying, are we a go, or do we need to go on to our next project? So not necessarily a vote, but is there any issues as far as proceeding with this? Performance Services is going to come in on Monday with our Facilities Committee and talk more in detail about this, but are we okay to proceed with this roof replacement? Okay.
I mean, you don't have a good building without a good road.
No, so. And we've seen the damage at the leaking pipes there at the middle school, so a lot of replaced tiles, so that's getting corrected this year, so making improvements. Also, a couple other items there. Last time we met, there was concerns about the Apple lease and wanted to know if there's a cheaper way to do it. And indicated we looked at that last year briefly. We talked about it, and we felt like the laptops were the way to go. But if that's something you want to do, I've just got a recommendation in there. You form a committee. We have our technology committee that can be part of that. Maybe get a couple board members involved with that to take a look and see if there's other options. I think everybody's pretty well sold on the MacBook Airs. They've been a good device. They're durable. A lot of the advantages using these Apple devices, but there might be some other options out there. A lot of schools I know use Chromebooks, moving away from Chromebooks. So I know Tri-Central is going from Chromebooks to iPads, I believe. So they just don't have the same durability as what the Macs seem to have. And I'm a PC guy too, so.
Are you saying we're set for this fall? And if we do
Right.
something different, it would be
We've already approved the lease for the coming school year. So we've already got the new computers in, so they're in the process of getting them set up and ready to go. But yes, this will be for the 2021, 2022 school year.
Okay.
And so I'm making a recommendation that a proposal come to the board by the November board meeting, so we have time to make any changes if there are changes. Likewise, something else been talked about quite a bit is core block scheduling. So again, recommending that we get a committee together that would include the superintendent, high school principal, and the board president to form a committee to take a look at this again. I provided with you the summary presented back spring of 2018 when we last looked at this, where we had some community groups come together and surveys done. That summary is provided to you once again so you can review that. But again, we need to make a decision. We keep coming back and having this conversation, and we need to make a decision and stick with it and move forward. So, and I think that completes my reports. Any questions, especially from Mr. Spiker and Mr. McNew?
I have no questions.
All right, next up was old business, and we don't have any old business to contend with this evening. Next is on to new business. And the first item is consideration to ratify those business items from the April 2020 meeting, which we didn't have, but Kevin was authorized to do that. At the March 20th emergency meeting with Tiffin Community School Board, the superintendent was given authorization to carry out the functions of the school corporation. The following items were listed as new business items for April 14th, 2020 meeting of the school board due to the COVID, were supposed to be voted on, but due to the COVID-19 crisis, were not. Consideration to approve the adoption of textbooks for language arts beginning in 2020-2021 school year. Consideration of student handbook changes for 2020-2021. Consideration of athletics handbook changes for 2020-2021. Consideration to approve items as surplus, which were laptop computers. Consideration to approve items as surplus, band uniforms. The corporation has proceeded as if these items were approved by the board. It is recommended that the board ratify and approve the following actions taken. So we need a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. And for this, we want everybody to raise their hand if they're in approval, and then I'm going to ask our remote people. All in favor, say aye. Mr. Snicker?
I vote
How do
aye.
you vote? Okay, how do you vote?
Aye.
All right, thank you, guys. Next, consideration to a resolution to transfer $500,000 from the rainy day appropriations to the education fund. The end of April shows that we have a negative cash balance of $58,203. We have discussed this would happen, that we would need to use the rainy day fund to help in this area. Earlier this year, we approved the appropriation of $800,000 from the rainy day fund. It is recommended that we now transfer $500,000 of that appropriation to the education fund. That will put things in the positive at least until July. So I need a motion.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, again, raise your hand, say aye. Aye. Okay. Keegan, how do you vote?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Chris McNew, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Next is consideration to approve various board policies on first reading. A number of board policies have been submitted for consideration. Many of these are changes that are reflective of the actions the board took during the initial stages of the COVID-19 crisis upon the legal recommendation of ISBA. Neola has updated these policies to reflect those actions for future ends similar to COVID-19. Recommended that the board approve the policy changes for first reading. Need a motion?
Just a quick question.
Okay.
Are these policies that are probably going statewide?
Yes, yeah, this is through Neola. Yeah, let me just walk through those real quick before we take a vote or take the motion. The first is policy 4162. This deals with drug and alcohol testing of CDL holders. So this is based upon meet the standards established by state and federal law. So they're outlined in there, some of the changes. But the rest of them, there's three phases here. That was one of them. The second one is just an overview of pandemics Neola recommends that we take a look at policy 8450, which is control of casual contact communicable diseases, make sure that that is in line with what has become established practices now. I think most likely it is, but that just there that they encourage us to take a look at it, and it's a good idea that we do take a look at it. So that's there. But then the third section overview would be continued operations. And so back in March, when they were saying everybody stay at home and everybody was scrambling, okay, how do we conduct official governmental business if everybody's supposed to stay at home? And that's where we got guidance from ISBA, not just only to Tipton, but all school corporations throughout the state. So these policies are in line with those legal recommendations. You got the number of bylaw policies and things that, with policy 162, it talks about having a quorum. Policy 164.3, talking about emergency meetings, and we had one of our first ones during this time. So how is that conducted? And then also the voting, such as we're doing here tonight. When we can't have everybody present, how can we do a voting when an executive order is in place saying we can't? So those things the memo talks about having virtual meetings, such as we're have a modified virtual meeting here tonight with two members called in virtually to be part of the meeting. And then you got new policies, 8415 and 8416. 8415 were those two things we dealt with back in March in the emergency meeting. One was a delegation for continued school function, giving the superintendent the authority to carry out the functions and working with the board president to make sure that happens. And then also delegation for continued school functions during the declared school emergency. So those are two new policies in response to our actions during the pandemic. And again, this went out to all Neola clients, and ISBA is issuing similar policies to their clients on updating policies to meet these challenges.
So this is first reading, and if Neola comes across other changes between now and the next board meeting,
Right.
look at those. And I saw that a lot of the policies were, like, there were 2 or 3 options on how we want to handle our business.
And I went through and marked those options, what I thought was the way we've acted and should continue to act. So.
Very good. I make the motion to approve the first reading of the policies in front of us.
A motion and a second. All in favor of approving the various board policies on first reading, raise your hand. Aye. Okay, Mr. Smicker, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next is to approve the 2020-2021 textbook rental and fees. 2021-2022 textbook rental fees are being submitted for approval. This recommendation includes rental for new textbooks that were approved last month, as well as the other textbooks considered tonight. It also includes the $75 technology fee assessed to grades 2 through 12. It is recommended that the board approve the 2020-2021 textbook rentals and fees. Motion? Motion in a second. All in favor, say aye. Raise your hand. Mr. Snicker, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I would commend the teachers and staff that did look at the books they proposed last year. One of my comment was that if we don't need to adopt a new book, let's not adopt a new book, because the prices of books are very expensive. So I commend our staff really taking that to heart, trying to take it easy on the parents, because the book rental does get very expensive, especially if you have 2 or 3 kids in school. So I know the elementary did not adopt any new language books because it's very well incorporated into the reading series. The middle school was conscious and didn't adopt things, and I think that the high school is going more with novels and using novels to deal with their language instruction there. So commend our staff for holding down the cost of our textbook rental for our parents, so I appreciate that.
Next up is consideration to approve the grading scale of Tipton Elementary School. Mrs. Rail is recommending the elementary grading scale be changed to better align with the middle school and the high school. The scale was included in the handbook, was submitted to the board last month. It is recommended to approve the change to the elementary grading scale.
So moved.
Gotcha. Loud and clear.
All right,
I
yeah,
think
we
that's
have a
Mr.
motion
I
and we
think
have a
it was
second.
I think it was Mr. McNew, right?
Mr. McNew, yes.
About time.
Who's the second? Second. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Smicker, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. McHugh? I'm assuming we.
Huge
aye. All right, thank you, guys. Next is consideration to give permission to the superintendent to hire staff between June, July, and August board meetings. It is a busy time of year in filling positions. Schools are in competition to find the best candidate possible. In addition, we do not know what may happen with some teachers who may be looking for other positions or deciding to leave for other reasons. By giving the superintendent permission to hire, we can go ahead and secure qualified candidates without having to wait for the board to act on the resignations, and allows us to get the commitment from the candidate before they accept another position. It is recommended that the superintendent be granted permission to hire staff between board meetings of June, July, and August. Comments or questions?
Are the current openings advertised? Are we getting,
They are advertised, or some applications been accepted. The principal's making contact with those individuals, but nothing's being scheduled yet, probably until June 1st, and when the stay-at-home orders relaxed a little bit. So, yes, we're making contact because there's a couple of positions at the high school that we are very much in competition with a couple of our neighbors. So, I mean, those we really need to act on as quickly as possible and allow the building principals to, as soon as possible, get those candidates in here and then find the best one for their staff, so.
Okay.
And we're all in the same boat as far as waiting until things open up where we can get people safely to come in and talk to them and find the best candidate.
We have a motion?
second?
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Mr. Smicker, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. McNew, how do you vote?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Next is consideration to approve the one-year extension of the food service contract with Aramark. Last year, we went through the bid process for a food service provider. This agreement was good for 1 year and can be renewed for up to 4 years. At this time, it is recommended that we renew the contract with Aramark for 2020, 2021. Aramark has provided the corporation with a food service director who has worked hard to implement the federal nutrition requirements and to promote the food services provided to students. It is recommended that the board approve the food service contract renewal with Aramark for 2020, 2021.
And again, Mr. Pearl is one that's really kind of gone above and beyond with the food meal delivery system last couple of months, so appreciate his efforts.
Sure has. He's done a good job. Have a motion? Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Mr. Smicker, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. McNew, how do you vote?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Next is consideration to approve the one-year extension of the contract with ESS Subfinder. We have finished the first year using WillSub, ESS Subfinder. It is felt that WillSub has met our expectations. It is recommended that Tipton Community School Corporation extend this agreement with ESS to provide substitutes for Tipton Community School Corporation for the 2020-2021 school year. Questions or comments?
I thought we had some challenges with, maybe it was just out of the gate.
It was. I mean, we got on board late, so we're trying to put 2 or 3 months of work into 2 or 3 weeks. Anytime you have a new program coming in like that, you have some challenges. Within your packet, you've got a comparison of last year's sub bill rates compared to where they were this year. And so it was a little rough in the beginning, but it's gotten better. And really, some of the obstacles that we had with WillSub was no different than what we had before WillSub. Finding qualified candidates to get in there, to fill in all the positions we needed. There's a shortage of substitutes, just like there's a shortage of other personnel sometimes. So sometimes they got a bad one, sometimes we got a bad one. We asked those subs not to come back. So some of the same challenges they faced, we were facing prior to that. But I know for the people in our office that has to deal with that group of employees, it's really helped out. Saved a lot of time because now they are taken care of by somebody else. When we closed schools, had to deal with our employees. That was one group we didn't have to deal with, okay, because WillSub took care of them, and they furloughed them so they could be eligible to collect unemployment to help them out. So they provided training to the subs, not in school safety, which is what we need, but many other aspects. They provided some video training, and they've had some recruiting. So as you can see, I think the report, we're up to a pool of 73 subs when we left in March. So it's gotten better as the year progressed. So
They would stay in the pool and not have to reapply.
correct, right.
I recall part of the challenge was getting through the system.
Getting those people that were used to working for Tipton
Yep.
into now what is a new employer.
Right.
So yes, that was a challenge, getting them. The other thing, the same challenge, one of the challenges we had, we would bring in applicants and talk to them, interview them, and say, okay, this is what you need to do to get you on our list. Okay? Someone would follow through and they'd go on our list. Others would not follow through, and we never heard from them again. WillSub has the same problem. They got people that go in, make an application. They say, okay, you need to do this, this, and this. The applicant does not do this, this, and this, then they can't put them in our pool. So
Is the contract rates the same as last
yes,
year?
correct.
How much extra does it cost us to, I mean, I understand that they're on their pay, they take care of, we don't pay them.
Right.
They pay them, but we pay them one fee, right?
Correct.
As I recall,
Percentage, right.
Very
Certain percentage for teachers, certain percentage for classified staff.
Okay. Motion,
So moved. Second.
motion and a second. All in favor of your, raise your hand and say aye. Mr. Smicker, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. McNew, how do you vote?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Next up is consideration to approve the property and casualty insurance carrier. Property and casualty insurance was set to expire on April the 25th. That has been renewed. The executive and the listing of the loss experiences of property, auto, and liability are attached. As the summary indicates, the loss experience for property and auto has been very good at a negative 9% and 13% respectively. However, the loss experience for liability is at 206%. It is recommended to approve the extension of property and casualty insurance with Assured Partners, and they have a representative in Tipton as well, have represented Tipton as well as in the past. It is recommended that we accept the quote from Wright Specialty for $114,652. So need a motion for that.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, we have 2 seconds now. All in favor say aye and raise your hand. And Mr. Smicker, how do you vote?
Aye.
You, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. And
Yeah, I just might point out, some of these things, I'm trying to get these contracts in place. There are known vendors who've done well with us. That's one less thing the new superintendent will have to deal with coming in. These things are all due during the summer. So the new person will have a year to evaluate to see if recommendations continue or to look elsewhere. So, but that's one less thing on that person's plate to deal with summer coming into a new position, so. I don't know what you feel like I'm trying to run all the things through, but there was a reason, trying to get unfinished business finished. So because there's gonna be a lot of challenges laying ahead in the upcoming weeks, getting school started.
Next is consideration to approve e-learning days for 2020, 2021. Community Schools is seeking approval to use up to 4 e-learning days to use for inclement weather for 2021 school year. Previously, the board has approved the use of these days for professional development. These days would be in addition. It is recommended that the board approve the use of up to 4 e-learning days for inclement weather for the 2020-21 school year. Any questions or comments?
All right, so we're still doing the professional development
Right.
in addition.
We're assuming things are gonna be fairly normal. We're assuming. So at this point, yeah, that's the plan. I know everybody kind of had it up their eyeball with e-learning for the last few weeks, and doesn't sit well, but this is something we've done annually, so I'm making the assumption that we start fairly normal. And that could change next week. Yeah, the governor's got another announcement on the 15th, doesn't he? Or Department of Education does, at least on coming up this week. So, but yes, so trying to establish a normal pattern, but again, that's subject to change depending upon conditions. So,
Have you picked the dates yet?
for the professional development, yes, they're on the calendar. It's been approved.
That's the 4 e-learning days?
For e-learning days for professional development, those dates have been set as part of the
Okay.
calendar adoption.
Gotcha.
Now, these would be for inclement weather, so,
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you.
And we need more than that, but I think we used 4 for weather this year and last year, so if we need more than that, when we come back to the board and discuss it.
Need a motion to accept the e-learning days?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Smecker, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. McNew, how do you vote?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Next is consideration to approve items as surplus. 3 office chairs in the administrative office area are damaged. It is recommended that these chairs be declared as surplus and be disposed of. Need a motion? Motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Speaker, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. McNew, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Next is other matters to come before the board. Consideration to approve the superintendent contract beginning July 1, 2020, continuing through June 30, 2023. For Indiana Code, a public hearing was held on May the 4th, 2020, to receive public comment on the proposed contract for the incoming superintendent of schools. It is recommended that the board approve this contract. Questions or comments? If not, I would accept the motion.
So this is a process we started in December, many meetings and discussions and interviews, and
Exactly.
here we are today. I'll make a motion to approve the superintendent's contract.
Second, all in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Smicker, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. McNew, how do you vote?
Aye.
All right, thank you, guys. Next is consideration to hire the superintendent of schools. The board has reviewed and considered applicants for the position of superintendent of schools. It is recommended that Dr. Brian Slade is appointed to the position effective July 1, 2020. Questions, comments? Need a motion?
So moved.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Mr. Smecker, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. McNew, how do you vote?
Aye.
All right, thank you, guys. And next is advisory committees, and the only one we have coming up is next month.
Facilities and then personnel, I'd like to get together with you within the month
Okay.
to take a look at things to bring to the board in June.
Okay.
Open You open or,
As far as I know,
Well-
all of my stuff got canceled, so.
okay. Okay, Chris, are you fairly open to a personnel meeting?
You just tell me when and I'll be there.
Okay, I'll get some dates together and we'll get that set up.
All right. Facilities and technology is Monday, not yesterday Monday, because I was rushing around yesterday. Kevin goes, well, not till next week.
Yeah, next week.
May 22nd is the official work day for teachers. Grades need to be submitted. Memorial Day is the 25th. Graduation has been moved to July the 25th. And if we have a Tippecanoe County Fair, Mrs. Rail is getting a schedule for us to.
Yeah, because we looked at the 18th as a possible graduation day, but that was fair, and I called over there, and they're waiting for some guidance from Purdue University on the 15th, so.
Yeah.
So, that's still kind of up in the air, and,
And I would, propose to move the July meeting, we always do for the fair, because that is the first night of the fair, pageant,
Yep.
opening night, so,
and I think I mentioned that in the memo too, so,
yeah, we typically do move it if it falls on fair.
right.
So, I would propose you guys to come up with a date, we can email that to each other, whatever.
I thought it was the week before.
We usually have a conflict, either with the board meeting or with one of our committee meetings, so, yeah. Those are the dates for the fair at this time.
All right, next up is comments from the community. Kevin's got one question or comment.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
But
Forgot we
we got
got
any new ones?
Let me hit a refresh just to be sure. Okay, now we have, one comment. This comes from, Denise Keough. And Ms. Keough asked, although we are all hoping for life as normal in August, we need to be prepared for it not to be. Will we be gathering feedback from all stakeholders through conversations or surveys in order to make fall learning as productive as possible? We need to do this when Mr. Emsler is still available, as we need both corporation and building level conversations and decisions. Okay. Currently, we have a survey out to our students and out to our parents through Cognia, which used to be Advanced Ed, just kind of getting their perception of how things have gone. So, and unfortunately, with those kind of surveys, the participation is very, very light. So, but at least it is some data we can take a look at. And this is something I've been talking to principals about. We've got a Google Doc saying, if there are things that we need to be thinking about for next year, start listing those different things. So we got a list generating. And again, we're also waiting for guidance from the state. I know Dr. McCormick has groups coming together and saying, what are some different options we can do? Talking about a hybrid model, kids coming in for 2 days, one group of kids coming in for 2 days, another group of kids coming in for the next 2 days. So there's a lot of different things being tossed around if things are not back to normal come August. So we're looking at that. I believe the governor is supposed to make an announcement first part of July as far as from his position, what would be the status of schools in Indiana. So we're kind of waiting for that. So we're still kind of in a wait and see, but we are gathering information. Like I said, today I just received a document from the national level on preparing to come back to school under not normal circumstances. So there's some guidance there. So it's just a matter of collecting that information, getting guidance from the state, and having some things, ideas listed. But I think we're still waiting on the governor's announcement to really put things into place. So unfortunately, it's this is what we're doing at this time, subject to change. That's the mode we've been in for the last couple of months, and that it's still kind of that way for everybody. So we hope to have a list of ideas that we can generate, and with Dr. Glaze and administrators getting things put in place in July, ready to go in August. So hopefully we'll have some ideas, gather some more information from our stakeholders to help look at what's the best possibility we can be. Often said with e-learning, we thought we had it pretty well down pat. And a few of our teachers did, but nobody was prepared for this level of e-learning. I don't think anybody in the state was prepared for this. So We knew it was a possibility. We had pandemic plans. We talked about that years ago and thought it would never happen. Well, it did happen, and we had a foundation, and we built upon that foundation. And I think teachers learned along the way what worked, what didn't. They really got into the video conferencing. That was a new aspect for many, and got very creative in getting kids together and making that connection so they could talk and just writing emails and things. So I think there's a lot of things learned, and I've asked principals to reflect on that, what worked, what didn't, and how can we put those things in place moving forward should this happen again. And there's speculation that it could happen again. Another wave could hit us in November or December. Even when we come back fairly normal, there's that possibility of a second wave during regular flu season. So we've got to be better prepared than what we were this time. So, and I think we've learned quite a bit the last few weeks, and now we just need to pull that together and develop a better plan moving forward.
Survey to come out.
I'm sorry?
Transparency,
Went out last week.
random selection?
No, for parents, it went out through the messaging system.
I didn't get it.
You didn't get it? Okay.
I got mine.
Okay, so Mr. Manu got his. We did have some issues with some students, and I worked with Mr. Gingerich to get that worked out. So sent a lot of them out last week and sent a reminder out this week to students. So, okay. Got two parents here said they didn't get it, so, okay. No wonder participation's light. At least 162 did get it, so I do know that, so.
That's somewhere in like an email to the staff that you had sent something out, and I'm like, I don't remember seeing anything.
I've
Okay.
read every.
I got one email, I don't remember what.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I got one.
Okay. All right, so I use the same method, I mean, and I'm hitting the students, so, okay.
Yeah, it's, I mean, sometimes it
Okay,
doesn't
well,
happen.
I resent it to students, I need to resend it to parents too, so, in case they didn't get it or got buried in their email like many of mine do, so, okay.
No further questions.
Can I add one thing, Gary?
Go ahead, Chris.
I really liked what Mr. Emsweller said earlier in thanking all of the staff and the personnel. I want to personally, though, thank Mr. Emsweller because I think his leadership, communication through this mess has been nothing short of brilliant. And I've talked to a lot of parents who have concerns about e-learning, and the only thing I've told them is we've done the absolute best that we could do with the knowledge that we were given. There's no way we would have done 10 straight days of e-learning had we known we weren't going to come back for the entire year. So next year, we're going to have a better plan in place. And I'm just as thankful as everybody that e-learning is done, and now we can get to summer.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Any other comments from the community? All right.
Amy Cole.
Okay, sorry, I took the mask off.
You're fine.
All right, so first of all, I'm Amy Cole. I teach high school, I'm also the union president. So congratulations. Actually, I wanted to address the board, specifically what Denise's comment was. You're right, we went into this unexpected in the fall, but we were a one-to-one school, and I think we rocked it, actually, after we got going. But all the schools across the state are getting together and getting committees together now to make plans for next fall. And so with this change in leadership, what I would like is the exec board with a couple of middle school teachers, because we don't have middle school teachers on the exec board for the union, as well as Mr. Emsweller. And if you are willing to work before July 1st, I want Kevin in on the discussion. He brought one-to-one to the school corporation. He knows exactly where we're at. He knows our weaknesses. He knows our strengths. All right, and we have had excellent dialogue between the union and the board, and the union and the administration. We work well together, and his committees are good. So I'm requesting that we start that like here in the next couple of weeks. So May, June, so that we get a good plan before Mr. Emsweller leaves on things that we want to implement in the fall, how we're going to handle this. I mean, because we've got a lot of staff that's 55 years or older. The significant number of our staff. So, I mean, we've got a lot of things to think about when the fall comes.
And that's one of the issues out there as far as, under these conditions, some staff members or their spouses or significant others may have those underlying conditions. Either they don't want to compromise their health or the health of their families to come into work. So I've seen that posted quite a bit out there from teachers that, you know, those ready for retirement, they aren't ready to retire, don't want to retire yet, but they are concerned about their health, so.
Yeah, so I look forward to an email from you
Okay.
instead of.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
I work best between 5 and 6 a.m.
I'll do it.
So,
Yeah, he said
Turn-
you
turn-
know,
turn-
at 5 a.m., I'm like,
turn-
Yeah, I've seen that.
Notifications up.
I told the parking lot at school sometimes in the morning, there's crossover, I'm like, do you sleep here?
So,
Sundays,
teacher
I get up
evaluation is
early
what we need to look
with
at
the
too,
intent
where
of
you talk
getting
about
him an
committees.
email before he sends me an email, and I sat down and, dee-dee, it's too late. He
Yeah,
got me.
I have to be at work at 4 o'clock, what we're going through out there, and one morning it popped up, I thought, man, he's at work early.
Any other questions from the community? Mrs. Redberger, you good?
I'm good.
All right. Dr. Glaze, would you like to make any comments?
Well, I just wanted to say,
Mr. Glaze, if you would, for the cameras, if you'd like to come up, so you might want to remove your mask so people can see you. You want to stand right out here, put your back to the.
Okay, I feel better.
That way you kind of address the group and.
I'm looking forward to getting started here at Tipton, and very much in the same spirit that you were talking about, wanting to get in and get my hands, dirty and get things going. I have some flexibility here, so I'm able to get moving and be able to jump in with both feet. So, again, it's a very challenging time, but it's also a very exciting time. So, we're gonna all figure it out together, that's for sure. So, thank you.
Allison, if you will take a picture real quick.
You want me to take a picture? Wait, I think you want to go back up there.
I'm just throwing my daughter an ass away.
I should probably do that too.
Yeah.
So I should take a picture of this.
Yeah, no kidding. Welcome aboard.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
I know.
Oh, the smell of sanitizers.
All right, and the next thing on the agenda is a motion to adjourn. Motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Mr. Smicker, are you in favor of adjourning?
Yes, aye.
Right. Mr. McNew, are you in favor of adjourning?
Oh, I guess so.
All right.